So yeah, so this was not much on the first slide. You can see this
Okay,
now, correct?
now we see a full slide. Yeah, so
Thank you. I'm sorry about that. Thanks for letting me know.
sure, sure.
And
Yeah.
then this was just, my introduction. So this just was a little bit about the background, which you heard. So again, nothing graphic. Uh, and then I just went through this slide with words and yeah. So this is the first one that actually you got it at the right time. So we have these two major campuses. St. Thomas is the one on the top, and you can see the runway that I just came in on is right up there. And the Albert A. Sheen campus is on St. Croix. It's much bigger, and St. Croix is twice the size of St. Thomas. I'll come back to that in a second. So we're historically black college, founded in 1962, land grant institution. Uh, these two campuses make some of the teaching challenges because we offer the classes simultaneously. Of course, now that everything is remote, it's sort of easier. Uh, and we have our enrollment is about just under 2,000 students, and we also suffered both enrollments because of vaccine mandate, so enrollment declines as well from the two Category 5 hurricanes in 2017. So so our island. So this is what I wanted to show you. So now I want to go back to. I just pulled up. So for those of you, so here's Tennessee, where we're based out of for this talk, and we're down 40 miles east of Puerto Rico. So here's the bigger picture, and then I zoomed in this one. I'm gonna get rid of this. So here's Puerto Rico, and then here's where I am on St. Thomas, and St. Croix here, and St. John is this little island right here, and what's considered the fourth one, you have to zoom in further, um, is this little island called Water Island. Okay, so just again some context, right? And data science is new to the Virgin Islands. I was brought here in 2018 to create a program in data science, and I was coming from Indiana University, so quite a big difference in the size of the campus. Um, View slideshow. And so when I was brought in and had my discussions, I had created a course at Indiana University called Applied Data Science. And I created this course, specifically this course, because I felt that there was a need for pulling the statistics and the programming and ethics and other topics together to give the students context about data science. Because as I'm sure you know, uh, most of the focus is on the algorithms and getting the precision and accuracy and recall that we all really want. So, so I felt that there was a need to uh, to sort of have something that provided the broader picture for the students. And actually, it was a very popular class, um, closed out, and this data science club um, would recommend to the incoming data science students that they take the class first. So if they taking it last, then it kind of tied everything together for them. And if they took it first, it gave them a roadmap. So the preference is really first for the roadmap. Um, but because it was a successful course and because I was building an undergraduate curriculum for the first time, I felt it was important to give the students context. And and since this course did that, I thought I could just simply extend the one semester graduate 500 level course to 2 semesters to give students more time to do the assignments. That it shouldn't be that reach from the 400 to 500 if I gave them, double the time to do it. Um, we'll come back to that. Uh, yeah. so that was the theory, right? And the theory and practice is again my most quoted Einstein quote. So the undergraduate program is the graduate program was online initially only actually, and it was totally self-paced because part of the concept of the course was to teach the students to be self-sufficient, to do what they would need to do in the real world, in their jobs where they wouldn't necessarily have someone, have everything spelled out for them. So they had to work through a lot of things. And as a final project, we used some Airbnb data from a Kaggle competition where the best you could do was about 60%. And the objective was not that they get the best predictor, but was that they knew how to approach and analyze and try different methods for different things. I took that out of the undergraduate course. That was too much. Okay. So the objective was to build this undergraduate program. The theory was that what worked in the States would work here in the Virgin Islands. In practice, it was not going to work at all, because when I came here, what I found was that my enrollments, instead of being 40 and 50 students, nobody really knew anything about data science, and I had 4 students or 3 students. If I don't have 6 students, then I have to teach other classes. So we had enrollment issues, but on the not having enough enrollment, and then I might have 9. Maybe if like the first semester I came, there was a special topics class, and so I had 9 students because the 2 semesters were combined into one. So I had to ask myself, how can I build a program that's going to actually meet the needs? Because there's a tremendous need here, not just academically, but also in the government and in the workforce for people that are trained in all aspects of data science. So the analytics is a big draw. We have tech companies that come here with great incentives for tax breaks, but they have to hire locally. And the good paying local jobs the students are in trains for and the workforce isn't trained for. Another real need here is in the government of the Virgin Islands, not having data to use for grant proposals, and not knowing how to properly manage data to either create it or collect it or to report it. So there's huge problems with data in all aspects here, and it's needed to drive decisions, as you all know, right? So some of the challenges were teaching across the campuses. I will say, because I taught the classes at Indiana on Zoom, I had a lot of the content that I was reusing already built out, and I brought my students into the Zoom world initially and immediately, because the video equipment, we could see each other, but it wasn't always reliable across the 2 islands. This is like a year after the hurricanes, but many things still weren't functioning. Sometimes we'd lose 10 or 15 minutes of class time, and sometimes we just give up. So we were on Zoom to share screens as soon as I started teaching here. So then when the pandemic came, we didn't skip a beat. And what else? I also had to think about doing recruiting, which I never had to do before in my career. And both across the campus, but then in the greater community. So I appeared on the radio many times, and then doing outreach with the junior high school students, and also with the high school teachers. And that's been more recent because, we had to develop the program first. We also, I guess as later, created a certificate to increase workforce and government engagement. The other thing, which we'll talk more about, was adjusting the curriculum to be accessible to a wider audience. I really wanted to reach more students than just our, math or computer science majors. So what I did was I thought about this, and I asked myself what I could do, and I realized what I could do is I could separate the technical aspects from the non-technical aspects. So when I did that applied data science class at Indiana University, I brought in topics such as data governance and data ethics and privacy and policy so that my students would be aware of these challenges. Because in my career, I've worked with, clinical medical data. I've worked with financial data. I've worked with, biological data that's completely open source. So, not all data is created equally, and not all data is shareable. And I felt a data science student should really be aware of these things. And I didn't see that covered in a lot of curriculum. So I realized that that was a real opportunity to bring in the sophomore level students and create a course that anybody across the university or anybody across the territory or anybody in the world could take, because it's not technical in nature. However, because I also want to introduce these analytical and technical concepts, I teach Python. I teach a little bit of statistics. They learn what a normal distribution is and why and when to use it and how powerful it can be. So I get that, I sort of demystify data science and take the sort of open the hood a little bit and give it to them in the broader context. So this is here on the left, this data science workflow has been my organizing principle for all sort of the courses and lectures that I teach. Starting with the question, getting the data, and this creates a roadmap for the students so that they know where they are all the time whenever we're getting deep into any of these bubbles, clouds rather. And I explain that the fuzziness, I like the cloud metaphor because the boundaries between these things are not always well defined, and even though you have back arrows, not all the arrows are shown, but anything can get you to move from one to the other. You just get new data, or you discover something data, raises some more questions, and you go back and forth. But as we know, when you say, what is data science? Very often it's like a combination of, some programming skills, math and statistics knowledge, and domain expertise, and at the intersection of that. Some of the depictions give you a little bit more. They'll say pattern recognition, AI, machine learning. They're all part of data science. I mean, you've seen all these things. But I say, well, this slide may be out of order, actually, that without real data governance in place, you can't rely on any of these other things, right? If you don't have good data governance, your data can get corrupt. Sometimes it gets very embarrassing if the data is biased, and all that falls under governance. And I took that as an opportunity to pull that stuff out. And so my Data Science 1 class covers the data science life cycle. They learn what informed consent is, why it came about privacy and transparency, all these sort of non-technical aspects, the policies and procedures that fall under data governance, as well as how are data represented, what are data standards organization, what's metadata. So this enabled me to reach a much broader audience, and use this, adding greater context onto the workflow about where the workflow now sits into this greater context and the importance of good governance. So I'm saying this to you, hoping that that some of you will be able to incorporate some of this into your courses, even if it's just a mention that without it, it's nothing would really stand up. And so here's a little more detail about some of the topics, and with the idea of teaching knowledge, skills, and abilities. In the less technical course, we're focusing on the knowledge, and in the more technical, we're more focusing on the skills and abilities. So the Data Science 2 course is a 400 level course that's given after the students then take statistics, a database class, and a programming class. So here are some of the topics. So data lifecycle, introduction to the workflow concept. We give them an introduction to Python, some mathematical foundations, and some the power of simple statistics. And we do some exercises around that so that they really get the feel for it. And I personally have now taught this 6 times as this is depicted here, and feel that it's very engaging. The students love the course because I often will say, like, what are the Virgin Islands laws in privacy? And I'll divide up we'll go and look up the law, and I'll divide it up, and I'll have the students come back and report on it. So I do a lot of student engagement by having them, what's data breaches? Well, let's go look it up. That's what we're going to have to do. So I each have them go research it on their own and pick one that they find interesting and come in and present it. Um, and come in and present it is on Zoom if we're in a pandemic. So and then get into more technical topics in the second course, and it's focusing on the different ways we do scientific inquiry with structured and unstructured data, numerical analysis. We use R. We introduce R and Python, deeper, more Python, and then also do Tableau and SQL and NoSQL. So they get quite a bit of assignments and different things here. I'll check the time. I think I'm almost out of time. Yeah, so we offer 2 credentials because of our small enrollments. We decided to create a minor because then anybody across the university, so I have it cross-listed. I worked with the different schools and colleges across the university to make sure that there was a pathway for their students to minor in data science. And this way it doesn't compete with majors, but it enhances the majors. And then a certificate in data science that was really targeted at the government and workforce development. And then, so this is just to show you year by year that this strategy, even through the pandemic, increased dramatically. Now, I didn't teach it this year, so this was a projection to this academic year. Because of the pandemic, the funds, we are a tourist-based economy, and we completely fell apart. So the university didn't have funds to continue. They continued my contract, which was up last May, to I said to enable me to teach data science 2 for the first time, and to launch the certificate. So they were able to extend it to the end of the fall semester 2021. But I will tell you that without doing all that research, the enrollments dropped way down. I think there were only 6 students again. So you have to do a lot of work here to go out and get the students, and a lot of working with the students as well. But I do believe in my heart of hearts that I've kept those enrollment numbers up and had more people because I did a lot of campaigning, if you will, for the data science class. And some of the students who took it this semester took it because they couldn't take it last semester.